All right, welcome back to Walk Through Open Doors with James Henson. Today we're talking about the one trait that I was always looking for as a therapist. It's the trait I look for as a coach. It's honestly the trait I look for before I allow anybody into my life in any real way. So today we're talking about self-awareness. So as we go through this series on the traits of the best leaders I've worked with, I want you to remember that when we talk about leaders, you don't have to be leading a company, you don't have to be leading a team, you don't have to be leading anything special. You are a leader in some way. At the very least, you are leading your own life. And what we're going to talk about today is one of the traits that if you don't have this, everything's going to fall apart. Like if you don't have insight, if you don't have self-awareness, there's zero chance that the things that you do are going to turn out well because you are immune from feedback, which means you're immune from improvement, and nothing is ever going to work out the way you want it to. So when I talk about self-awareness, just another word for that is insight. It's the ability to look at ourselves somewhat objectively and to know how we impact other people, to know how our decisions impact other people, to recognize that we are not the main character and that there's all these other things going on in the world and that we have to factor those things in if we want to truly be successful. Just across the board, the most problematic people I know, the most toxic people I know, just the people who are the biggest pain in the ass to deal with, they're like that because they lack self-awareness. I used to think that they were just like bad people. I used to think they were just shitty human beings. But what I've learned from being a therapist for as long as I was and being a coach now, it's really just that they lack self-awareness. They do not have an understanding of themselves in relation to other people. They do not have sometimes even an understanding of themselves in relation to their own consequences. When you run into people who are like that though, they are a major pain in your ass. When you run into a leader like that, it's a desperate problem because they are up at the top of this hierarchy. And if they can't see what they're doing wrong, everybody below them suffers. It's what we've talked about over and over again. The leader and the way the leader behaves, it is so much more important than the way just everybody else behaves because they are steering the ship. You know, we talked about how if the pilot on an airplane is having a rough day or is losing their shit, that's a lot worse than a passenger having a bad day or losing their shit. The pilot can take everybody down with them, and that's true as a leader. You know, when we talk about you as a leader in your own life, you have to be aware of that like not having self-awareness, not realizing that what you do impacts the world around you and that the world responds in kind, that will lead everything that you do to falling down around your ears because you just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. We all know people like this. We all have people like this in our lives. And so we all know just how difficult they can make things. So when I say that self-awareness, that insight is the first thing that I'm looking for when I am assessing, back when I was a therapist, when I was talking to somebody to see if I wanted to take them on as a client, and today as a coach, when I'm talking to somebody to see if I want to take them on as a client, I am constantly looking for self-awareness. I am constantly looking for their ability to look at themselves objectively and say, oh, this is what I'm doing wrong, or this is what I need to do better. If they do not have that, like, I'm not exaggerating. If they do not have that degree, like some degree of self-awareness, I do not take them on as a client. Because, number one, because they're going to drive me up the wall. They're going to piss me off. They're going to annoy the shit out of me. And I'm going to annoy them because I am constantly giving them feedback that they don't think applies to them. I'm constantly making suggestions that they don't think have anything to do with what they're dealing with. But the second reason is because they're mandating failure. They are making it where it is impossible for me to help them. And I'm invested in what I do. I'm invested in outcomes. I like to see progress. I want to know that what I'm doing makes a difference. So I'm not going to spend my time and energy on people who are going to sabotage that at every step. This is true of everything in life. The people I know who struggle the most, the people I know who struggle at work, who struggle in their relationships, who struggle in life, across the board, their struggle is related to a lack of self-awareness most of the time. It is that they live in this world where everything is everybody else's fault. And if everything is everybody else's fault, you have no control. And so why bother? Why should I change? Why should I change if everybody else is the problem? So I think you can see, I don't want to be judgmental of people. I don't want to be critical of them, but I think you can see why I don't want to take them as clients. My whole job is helping people change, helping people do better, helping people find opportunities, helping people look at the things that are not working and do something different. If somebody won't acknowledge that any of those things are there, I don't want to waste my time with them. It goes into my personal life as well. I don't want those kind of people bringing their mess to my door. Like, I get tired of having the same conversation with people. I get tired of somebody coming to me and saying, well, this isn't working and this, and I wish I had this and I wish this would go this way. I get tired of having to tell them, like, well, if you did this and this, or if you stop doing this and this, you might have a better chance. And there's these people, they're kind of like pushing a rope. No matter what you tell them, it's like, yeah, well, this person does this. Well, and if I do that, it's just this. I can't deal with them anymore. And I'm just not going to. I'm not going to have them in my personal life. I'm not going to have them in my business life. And I would encourage you to assess how many people like this you have in your life, and then to really assess the impact. Once again, this always comes back to, just doing this objectively. I'm not talking about criticizing them or judging them or condemning them. Like, they are the way they are for a reason. Their life helped them get that way. But we do have to learn to honestly assess the people that are around us if we want to do the cool things that we want to do, because we really do become like kind of the sum total of everyone that we spend our time with. And on top of that, like messy people will always bring mess to your door. It's cool to change your life and to do all these neat things and to have discipline and to have these big plans, but it really sucks when something outside your control keeps coming in and messing that up. So having boundaries with people who don't have insight, having boundaries with people who don't have a sense of self-awareness is just key. It's one of the most important things you can do. One of the most important reasons you need to have self-awareness, as if you're a leader, if you are a manager or a leader, or you lead people or you lead a family, whatever, or just as a leader of your own life, is because you really can't understand your strengths and your weaknesses until you have that capacity for self-awareness, until you can look at yourself honestly and say, oh, I'm good at this, I'm not good at this. Until you can do that, you're not really going to be able to move into a flow state and be really excited with what you're doing. For the longest time, I had these ideas about who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to do things. And I just kept going after them and it wasn't working. When I started to develop insight into myself, something just like what we're talking about today, when I cultivated the self-awareness to recognize, like, oh gosh, I don't do well with people who make excuses. Oh man, I don't do well with people who are constantly blaming others or who don't have a bias towards action. I don't do well with people who whine, When I was able to recognize that about myself and embrace it, everything changed for me and everything got so much easier. But going back even before that, I had such a lack of self-awareness when I was young that I was constantly running from anxiety, running from fear, running from all these emotions, from all this shit I didn't know how to deal with as a kid. And so I was drinking, I was using drugs, I was living crazy. I'm just like people who remember me sometimes. Like, I remember going on a podcast, this was a couple years ago, and it was with somebody who I knew years and years ago. And we're talking before the podcast and they're introducing me to their co-host. And he said, the first thing you need to know about James is that James is crazy. And I hadn't seen myself that way in so long. I'm pretty mild and cautious these days. But back when I was younger, I was crazy. I drove crazy. Rock climbing, I would rock climb without a rope. We were always doing something. And as I've cultivated self-awareness, as I've learned to look inside myself and have a relationship with myself, an honest relationship with myself, I've realized that man, I was doing that to stay one step ahead of fear, one step ahead of anxiety, one step ahead of depression, one step ahead of all the noise in my head. When I couldn't assess that accurately, I just thought that was how I lived. I just thought, this is what I do, this is who I am. Learning to meditate, learning to cultivate mindfulness helped me change that relationship with myself, where I was able to say, oh wow, these things are here. Is there a healthier way to deal with them? And that changed so much for me, where I haven't gone to jail in 20 some odd years. I haven't wrecked a car in a long time. There's so many just these kind of minor disasters that set my life back over and over. I haven't blown up. I don't blow up relationships anymore. I am not a problem anymore. That's something I stopped saying about myself, 6-7 years ago, I think. I would often say that I'm difficult to deal with, or I can be a problem. And the thing is I'm not. I kept speaking that because of a lack of self-awareness had held me to this old identity that is not me anymore. For a long time I'd say things like, I'm not the one you want to screw over. That's such bullshit. I am the one you want to screw over. I will forgive you and give you another chance. I will understand why you did it. I will do everything I can to put myself in your state of mind and try to have grace and kindness for you in that. Not forever, because I also have boundaries. I learned through cultivating self-awareness, I learned that I often allowed toxic people to stay in my life longer than I should out of a misunderstanding of what grace and forgiveness is. So that, you can see where, how self-awareness has just helped me change and grow and evolve. And it's a never-ending thing. I have not arrived yet. At 46 years old, I still got stuff I got to work on. I still have things I'm working on every single day. But cultivating that has changed everything. And it's let me know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. It's let me, by being aware of my own ego, when I'm not good at something, I let it go pretty quickly. And I don't mess with it, and I don't want anything to do with it. So when I talk about the things that you can do, like what are some concrete things that you can do to cultivate self-awareness in your life? I've already mentioned one. Learn to meditate, learn to practice mindfulness. They're not the same thing. Mindfulness is a type of meditation. Those words are not synonymous. But when you learn to meditate, you learn to keep your mind on one thing, it gives you a sense of focus. And you can start to just kind of like look at things in a more honest way. Mindfulness, just a general awareness of what's going on, lets you kind of watch your thoughts come and go, lets you watch your emotions come and go without judgment and without getting attached to them. That helped me so much because I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, I'm always acting out of these things that I don't even know are there. When I learned to just watch them come and go, it allowed me to change how I was responding to things. I think that if you can journal in an honest way, I do this every single night. I have my morning plan that I do. I have my evening review. And one of the things in my evening review is like, where did I fail today? And I think I've said this before, but I know everybody doesn't like the word fail. I don't give a shit. We fail. When we fail, we need to look at that honestly so we can know what we need to do different. This has helped me cultivate self-awareness when I see that I'm failing because of something over and over and over again, that's something I need to address. When I am seeing the excuses that I'm giving myself over and over again, that's something I can address. That is the way to start to recognize patterns. And then on top of that, if you want to take it a step further, look for feedback. I ask people for feedback. Just this morning, I sent a questionnaire out to an execution and accountability group I have for real estate agents. And I asked, I do ask what's working, what should we do more of? But I also ask, like, what could be different? How could this be improved for you? And I specifically request, like, please give me at least one thing. Like, criticize me on one thing. Give me some kind of constructive criticism that I can incorporate into this to make it better. By doing that, and I don't like it. I want to be clear. Like when I first read the critical comment that's going to come back, you could do this better, this would work better. It's going to hit me and it's going to hurt. But it will help me improve down the line. It will help me do so much better down the line. And so you can seek that feedback. But if you are willing to be honest with yourself, like life is always giving you feedback. Life is constantly giving you feedback. I was living under constant feedback when I was young. Healthy people abandoned me. Or I abandoned them because I couldn't handle their quote unquote criticism when they would just not want to do the things I was doing. I had no job. I couldn't keep a job. I was broke. I was a loser. I could not do any of the things I wanted to do. Nobody listened to me. I wanted so desperately to be heard by people, but anybody with half a brain knew, don't listen to that dumbass. And they were right about that. But because I had no insight, because I had no self-awareness, I would spin out these narratives of people don't get it, they don't understand what I'm going through, they're just too stupid to see what I have to offer. Oh, that job did this, they weren't fair about this. Oh my gosh, that wasn't part of the deal. That manager just hated me. I had all these narratives to explain my bullshit and to explain why my life was not turning out the way I wanted it to. As I started to have some self-awareness, it brought this wonderful realization to me like, oh, holy crap, I'm the problem. And what's super cool about that is that when you acknowledge that you're the problem, you are also opening up space to change it. Like realizing that you're the problem is a wonderful thing because you can do something about that. If you're not the problem, you got a tougher choice to make because you can't change other people, you can't change larger circumstances. So look for that feedback. And constantly just take it in and be honest with yourself about it. Journal. I think writing things out really helps them get it out of my head and I can be more objective about them. So when I'm journaling and I'm constantly realizing what's not going well, that's just such valuable feedback. And then I've also surrounded myself with people who will be honest with me. I have people who will come to me and say, hey, I'm worried about you. You don't seem like yourself. You seem like you're off, or it seems like this is just not you. That has been so helpful to me. I can tell you it is difficult when you start cultivating self-awareness because you have to learn some things about yourself that you might not love, but you will never regret it. It will lead you to so many good things. One of the things it's going to lead you to is what we're going to talk about next week and what we're about to start a series on, and that's resilience. The ability to bounce back after hard things is so much easier when you have a sense of self-awareness so that you can look at how you're doing things, look at your habits and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to talking about that. I think that is the most important thing any of us can cultivate right now in this current time in history is we need a sense of resilience. So I wanted to correct one thing. You know, when I last recorded these podcasts, I was doing it where I would do a podcast one week and then follow it up the next week with a newsletter. And we were doing like podcast, newsletter. I'm really enjoying this and I'd like it to be more useful. So we're actually doing a podcast on the podcast uploads on Tuesday and the newsletter goes out on Wednesday. So that way they're just like, they're right next to each other. So if you want to dive deeper into the idea of self-awareness, if you want to look at ways you can really cultivate it, then go sign up for my newsletter. There's a link in the channel description and you can, then tomorrow morning at 6:07 a.m., you will get a newsletter that focuses on this. It has journal prompts. It has very specific examples. It has like concrete practices you can do to start to cultivate this in yourself. And it has its own little video. I've realized that people, you know, with AI and with so many influencers and all these people out there, just the ability for everybody to just put their shit out there, I've just realized like I have to keep up with that. And so I'm including a video on that now that kind of dives into things in a deeper and more personal way. So that's free. I don't spam you. I don't share your email address. I don't try to sell you shit through it. So if you sign up, you'll get that tomorrow morning at 6:07. Like I said, the link's in the channel description. As always, I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to watch this. I'm grateful to everyone who takes the time to read the things I write. This week, just ask yourself, what kind of feedback am I getting from the world around me? What kind of feedback am I getting from people? And see if you can look at that feedback in an honest way and just incorporate it into your life and see how things start to change. As you cultivate self-awareness, everything gets easier. People like you more. It's just things start to fall in place. It's pretty magical. So I want that for you. Give it a try. I will look forward to talking to you next week.